live. I'm just going to give a minute for a couple of people to get on. Of course, if you are watching this in the replay and not watching it live, you can go ahead and fast forward until I get to that instruction part. But anyways, what I'm going to be going on is what we did today during class, which was how to find the volume of a composite shape. So we have two composite shapes here. And what we talked about in class is that I can partition it either going this way. So I have rectangle 1 and rectangle 2, or I can partition it this way so that I have 1 and 2. Now, either way I partition it, I'll still get the same volume. I will just end up using a different formula, different series of dimensions to solve it. So when we did it in class and we looked at rectangle 1 this way, we said, wow, I've got my length, because I know that volume equals length times width times height. So I would do that for both of them. So the volume of one plus the volume of another length times width times height. And I'm going to put groupings around it because I have to find the volume of one, then find the volume of the other, and join them together. So we know here our length is 5. Now we also need to find our width. So our width is how wide it is. And since this is not labeled, I'm just going to continue to follow to see at any point where do I see it labeled. And right here, I can actually see that this is 3. Because these two are congruent, they're both going to be 3 inches.
You're the best.
Okay. So the width would be 3. And then my height going up is 2. So that is the formula for the first figure plus the formula for the second figure. Again, length. This one doesn't actually have the length. What I do know is that the whole thing is 10, but I don't know this, and it's not labeled above. Let's see, do I know this one? Oh, this one is labeled above. This one here is 5. So if this is 5 and the whole thing is 10, I can subtract 10 minus 5 and find out that this length is also 5. 5 and 5 is a total of 10. So 5 times what is my width, and again my width is actually labeled on this one nice and clearly, is 3, and my height is 6. So I would find the area of the volume of the first one, the volume of the second one, and join them together. So in the interest of just being able to work out.
How do we take off the thing?
We don't. My daughter is not, so sorry, Brooklyn. So in this instance, we know that 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 times 2 is 30. So I'm just doing this to show you because I want you to see that they're going to come out the same no matter which way you partition them. And then here, 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 times 6 would give me...
Can you put water?
No, I cannot. Go give that to Daddy. Daddy can put water.
No,
okay. Well, Brooklyn, I'm not. 90. So if I join those two together, 90 and 30, and I get a total volume of 120 inches cubed or cubic inches, either way. This I get 120. So now let's look at it and compare with the second way. Again, I'm going to find the length times the width times the height.
I told you he won't.
Sorry, I am a crazy child. Length times the width times the height of the first one, which would be this one. And it really doesn't matter which one, but I just happen to label that one as the first one. And then again, the length times the width times the height of the second one. So the length of the first one. I don't see it labeled anywhere, but what I do see again is that this whole thing here is 10, which means this whole thing would be 10. So if I look here, this piece of it is 5. So 5 plus what would give me that whole length of 10? Right, 5 plus 5. So this length is 5. 5 times my width is 3. And my height is 2. Hey! I just got somebody to join. And then again here, my length, I've got, if I look at that second figure, I've got a length of 10. The width, it's not labeled here, not labeled here, but if I follow it around, oh, right here, the width is labeled. You'll notice that the width is actually the same for both figures. It's the same, it's got the same width. So if you recognize the width for one, just use it for both of them. And then the height of this one is 2. So again, going into the interest of either way you partition it, is it going to come out the same? On the first one, we got 120. So let's try the second one. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 2 is 60. And trying on the next one, I'm going to get 30 here. 30 times 2 is 60. And then I can join together the volume of the first one with the volume of the second one. I'm going to get a total of 120 inches cubed, or cubic inches. So what you should notice is here I partitioned it going up and down, and I came up with this formula. 5 times 3 times 2 plus the product of 5 times 3 times 6, I got 120. Here I decided to partition it going the other way, and I came up with 5 times 3 times 2 plus the product of 10 times 3 times 2. When I did that, I joined it together, I still got 120. So either way I chose to partition it, I got the same total volume. So let's move down here. And number 7 says, what is the volume of figure X? So here's figure X. And I need to find the volume of it. So again, I need to decide how I want to partition it. You can partition it in 2 different ways. It does not matter which way, because as we learned here, we came up, you will get the same volume. So I could do here, I could do here. I think I'm going to do here. But again, it's just a matter of what you want to do. So I want to find the volume of the first figure and join it with the volume of the second figure. So I'm going to use my space here. Length times width times height plus my length times my width times my height. And of course, our order of operations, our PEMDAS tells us that we would do all this multiplication and all this multiplication before we add together the 2 figures. So let's look at the first one. What is the length of this first one? All right, the length is pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. It's right there. It's 4. What is the width? So this one, if you look at it, the width is not labeled, but I want you to try to follow it around and see if you find the width. All right, so that one's not labeled, that one's not labeled, but if I continue to follow it around, here's my width, 1. And of course, now we know that's not going to make any impact on the value, but if you were to use the wrong number, it certainly would. And then what is your height? Right, your height is clearly labeled as 3. Now I'm going to put groupings around. You don't have to, because you would always multiply first anyways, but that just helps me to kind of see the first figure separated from the second figure. So look at your second figure. What is the length? Okay, so this one I don't see labeled. There's nothing labeled here for me to know. What I do know is that going all the way across this whole thing is 10. I have no idea how much this piece is, but do I know how much this piece is? Right, I recognize that this piece is 4. So if this piece is 4, then what does this piece have to be? Right, if this piece is 4, then this piece has to be 6, because 10 minus 4 is 6. So now I know that the length is going to be 6. The width, again, as I told you before, the width is the same for both figures. So the width is 1, and the height of this figure is what? Right, the height of this figure is 8. So again, I just go through and multiply those numbers. 4 times 1 is 4. And I just drop down times my 3. 6 times 1 is 6. Drop down my times 8. Now I've got an equivalent numerical expression. And my next step, 4 times 3 is 12 plus 6 times 8 is, remember I told you earlier, double, double, double. If you don't know your eights, double this number 3 times. So double of 6 is 12. Double of 12 is 24. So I've done my double, double. Double of 24 is 48. So your trick is double, double, double. 6 times 8 is 48. Now I've found the volume of my first prism and the volume of my second prism, and now I just can take these two and join them together. What do you get when you add them up? Now if you needed to, you could rewrite them going vertically, because that is what we like to do. And you would get 60 cubic feet. Okay, the next one says, show how to break figure S into 3 rectangular prisms. So just as we did up here, we found the volume for 2 rectangular prisms. You're going to do the same thing here, and you're going to find the volume for 3. Now, as we talked here that there was 2 ways to partition it, there's also 2 ways to partition this. I could draw a line straight across. So I've got figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. I could do figure 1, figure 2, and that would be figure 3. So it really doesn't matter how you choose to do it. I'll just go ahead and do this just only because they have that line arrow there showing that height. So I'll go ahead and do that way. So I'm going to 1, 2, and 3. So I've got to do 3. So length times width times height. That's 1 figure. Length times width times height. It's 2 figures. And length times width times height. So all I did was I partitioned it into 3 separate shapes, and I just need to look at one shape at a time. So on my very first shape, what is the length of the first shape? I don't see a label down here, but let me, up here it gives me the length, and the length is 3. What is the width? This does not give me the width, so I'm just going to continue to follow around until I see where the width might be labeled. Do you see where the width might be labeled? Right, even though I don't see it here, all my shapes have the same width, and the width is 2. What is my height? Very good, my height is 6. So I've got the 3 dimensions of the first shape, and I'll come back and solve that in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and look at my second figure now, my second rectangular prism. So again, you're going to go through that same process, length times width times height. So length, and I only want to find the length of this piece because this is the prism that I'm looking at now. I don't see the length labeled, but I do know this entire thing is 9. So I have no clue how much this piece is. Do I know how much this piece is? Right, this piece is 3, and I know it because it's the same up above. So I could label this as 3, so that chunk is 3. And what about this chunk? Do I know how much this is? Right, since these two are congruent, I can see that the length of this piece is 3. So I have 3 plus something equals that total of 9. So 9 minus 3 is 6, minus 3 more means this missing length is also 3. In other words, 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals your total of 9. So the length is 3. Again, we said the width is going to be the same for all your figures. So what is the width of this figure? It's not labeled there. Just continue to follow it around and find the width. Do you see the width? Again, the width is right here. It's 2. And it's going to be the same for all your figures. Okay, what is the height of this? Very good. The height of this one is 3. I see I have somebody on. I wonder who's on. Okay. Well, they're not going to comment right now, but anywho, look at your last one. So I'm going to again go through and find the dimensions of my third figure. So the length, the width, the height. What is the length? Very good. The length is 3. What is the width? Oh, that's right. The width is 2. We said the width is going to be the same for all of our figures. And the height? Oh, this isn't labeled. Oh, I can see that these two are congruent. They're the same. So if this is 6, then this one is also 6. So now I have the formula for figure 1, figure 2, and figure 3. Now I just need to go through and multiply them. So 3 times 2 is 6. And now drop down my times 6 to create that equivalent value. 6 times 6 is 36. So the volume of the first piece of the figure is 36. So let's look at the next one. The second one, we came up with its dimensions of 3 times 2 times 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Drop down times 3. And 3 times 6 is 18. Look at your last one. Your third figure, 3 times 2 times 6. We actually had the same dimensions because if you notice, these are the same. But in the interest of just going through that process, 3 times 2 is 6. Drop down your times 6 that we haven't done yet. And 6 times 6 is 36. So now I have the volume of the first piece, the second piece, and the third piece. Now I can rewrite those going up and down to help me add them up. 36, ching, 18, ching, and 36 again. Ching. You like that? Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so now I'm just gonna add these up. I'm gonna do these two first because I know those two really well. 6 and 6 is 12. 12 plus 8 more is 20. So I drop down my 0 and regroup my 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. Plus 3 more is 9. So I get 90. What is my unit? Right, 90 meters cubed or 90 cubic meters. Either way works. So that is all for tonight. I recommend that you take this and study this. Really look this over before the test. We do have a test on Thursday. I will be going live on Wednesday night as well to help you for anybody who has any questions and wants personalized support. But take your time on this. Feel free to watch, rewatch, rewind, fast forward. Do what you need to do. Do your thing. And I will see you all tomorrow.